Every single minute of every single day, Amazon makes approximately $22,000 in profit. Not revenue, profit. While you slept last night, Amazon made over $30 million. While you ate breakfast this morning, it made another $15 million. Today, Amazon delivers more packages than FedEx, hosts more websites than any company on Earth, produces its own movies, its own TV shows, its own satellites, and its own artificial intelligence. It is not a store anymore. It is the infrastructure of modern life. But in 1994, Amazon was nothing more than a list of books on a slow computer inside a rented garage in Bellevue, Washington. And the man running it had just quit the best job on Wall Street, packed his entire life into a car, and driven across America with no guarantee that any of it would work. His wife drove. He typed the business plan on his laptop the whole way. This is the untold story of Jeff Bezos, the garage boy who built the most dominant company in human history. Jeffrey Preston Jorgensen was born on January 12, 1964, in Albuquerque, New Mexico. His mother, Jacqueline, was 17 years old when she had him. His father, Ted Jorgensen, was 18. They were teenagers trying to hold a marriage together while raising a baby, and failing at both. When Jeff was just 4 years old, his parents divorced, and his father disappeared from his life entirely. For years, Jeff grew up without knowing anything about his biological father, but then something remarkable happened. His mother remarried a Cuban immigrant named Miguel Bezos, who had arrived in America at 16 with nothing, put himself through college, and built a stable, loving life from scratch. Miguel adopted Jeff, gave him his last name, and became the father Jeff never had. From Miguel, Jeff learned the most important lesson of his life, that where you start means absolutely nothing. What you do with what you have, that is everything. From an early age, Jeff was obsessed with how things worked. He took apart his crib as a toddler with a screwdriver. He converted his parents' garage into a laboratory and filled it with electronics experiments. He was endlessly, exhaustingly curious. By the time he graduated valedictorian from high school in Miami, he already knew exactly what he wanted. He wanted to build something that had never existed before. Jeff studied electrical engineering and computer science at Princeton University, graduating in 1986 with a near-perfect GPA. The offers came flooding in immediately. He turned down Intel, he turned down Bell Labs, he turned down Anderson Consulting. Instead, he joined a small technology startup on Wall Street, and within a few years had climbed his way into one of the most prestigious and well-paid positions in finance. By 1990, at just 26 years old, Jeff was the youngest senior vice president in the history of the hedge fund D.E. Shaw, one of the most sophisticated quantitative trading firms on Wall Street. He was earning enormous amounts of money. He had respect, security, and a future that most people would have died for. And then, one afternoon in 1994, he read a statistic that changed everything. Internet usage was growing at 2,300% per year. He read it again, 2,300%. Jeff sat back in his chair, and a thought entered his mind that he could not shake loose. If the internet was growing that fast, and if people were going to buy things online, then somebody was going to build the world's biggest store. Why not him? Jeff walked into his boss's office and told him he was quitting to start an internet bookstore. His boss, one of the smartest financial minds on Wall Street, told him to think about it for 48 hours before making any decision. Jeff thought about it. He came up with what he later called his regret minimization framework. He asked himself one simple question: when I am 80 years old and looking back at my life, will I regret not trying this? The answer was immediate: yes. He quit the next day. He and his wife Mackenzie loaded everything they owned into a car and drove from New York to Seattle. Jeff typed the business plan the entire journey. Mackenzie drove. They rented a house in Bellevue, Washington, converted the garage into an office, and on July 5th, 1994, Jeff officially founded Amazon, named after the largest river in the world, because he wanted to build the largest store in the world. The early days were brutally unglamorous. Jeff personally packed and shipped every order himself on his hands and knees on the garage floor. When the business grew too big for the garage, he moved into a 2-bedroom house and used the basement. He told early employees, "We are going to be working harder than you have ever worked in your life, and there is a very good chance this fails completely." Nobody left. Amazon launched its website in 1995, and in the first 30 days sold books to customers in 45 different countries. Jeff had predicted they might sell 100 books a week in the first year. They sold that many in the first day. But success brought a target on his back. Barnes & Noble, the largest bookstore chain in America, saw Amazon coming and launched their own website in 1997 with vastly more resources, more brand recognition, and more money. The media declared Amazon finished before it had even started. Jeff did not blink. Instead of retreating, he expanded aggressively, adding music, then DVDs, then electronics, then toys, then everything. Amazon went public in 1997 at $18 a share. Analysts called it Amazon.bomb and predicted it would collapse within years. It did not collapse. Then the dot-com crash of 2000 wiped out 90% of Amazon's stock value almost overnight. Analysts declared Amazon finished again. Jeff cut costs ruthlessly, focused obsessively on customer experience, and kept building. And then he made the bet that nobody saw coming. In 2006, Amazon launched Amazon Web Services, a cloud computing platform that rented server infrastructure to other businesses. It was a strange idea for a bookstore. It became the most profitable division in the company's history and the backbone of the modern internet.
What Amazon built over the next 2 decades was not just a company, it was an entirely new way the world worked. Amazon Prime changed how people expected delivery to feel: fast, free, and frictionless. The Kindle changed how people read. Alexa changed how people interacted with their homes. AWS became the invisible engine powering Netflix, Airbnb, NASA, and the CIA simultaneously. Amazon acquired Whole Foods, MGM Studios, Twitch, and Ring, moving into groceries, entertainment, gaming, and home security in one relentless expansion after another. By 2021, Amazon's revenue crossed $469 billion. Jeff Bezos personally became the first human being in modern history to accumulate a net worth exceeding $200 billion. The garage in Bellevue, where it all started, is now a landmark. People drive past it and take photographs. Because inside that unremarkable wooden structure, with a slow computer, a folding table, and a man packing books on his knees, the future was being built one order at a time. In July 2021, Jeff Bezos stepped down as Amazon's CEO and handed the reins to Andy Jassy. He did not retire. He turned his attention to Blue Origin, his rocket company, with the stated goal of moving heavy industry off Earth entirely to preserve the planet. He once said, "I knew that if I failed, I wouldn't regret that, but I knew the one thing I might regret is not ever having tried." That single thought, asked in a car driving across America with a half-finished business plan on a laptop, became a $2 trillion company. From a teenage mother in Albuquerque, a Cuban immigrant father who started with nothing, a garage in Washington, and a man who refused to spend the rest of his life wondering, what if? That is the untold story of Jeff Bezos. Now, here's a question for you. Whose story do you want to hear next on Untold Billionaires? Drop a comment below and tell us which billionaire you want us to cover next. The one with the most comments gets the next video. Your comment could decide what we make next. Until next time,